Well, hello, everybody. This is Shawn, aka Dr. PerCap, coming to you. And I'm joined today by a very special guest, Hope Huskey, a member of the Sequoia Fund, long-standing member and very, very valuable staffer there at Sequoia Fund. And today we're going to be talking about managing money and children. And many times I get requests from people asking me, well, Dr. PerCap, what's a good way to introduce money topics to children? Or what's a good time to start talking to your child about money? Or how do you teach a child about money? And there's a lot of different ways to do that. You know, sometimes it can be as simple as helping them make a piggy bank and putting a few pennies in there and helping them save some money. Could be giving a child an allowance. But there's also a growing movement in Indian country and beyond of getting children at an early age into a bank account. And Hope has been heavily involved in a savings program in which children in the local Cherokee community create our open bank accounts in partnership with Sequoia Fund and a local bank. And it's been a really, really exciting program. It's about 8 years old, I think. It's been around a few years. So, Hope, how's it going?
It's going good. Hey, Shawn, it's good to talk with you.
You too. So before we get started, tell me a little bit about, how you're adjusting to the lockdowns and working remotely and family life.
Yeah, so it's going pretty good for me. My internet's holding out at home, which is all we can ask for in these times, I think. Although I am at the office today, I wanted to make sure it was fine. I do have a 15-year-old who's at home doing virtual learning. So you never know how the internet's going to act when we're both doing things. But yeah, we've been great. I actually ended up getting 2 puppies during COVID. So it's been a real advantage that I can stay home and house break them and get lots of puppy time. So I'm thankful for that. But yeah.
Very cool. What kind of puppies are they?
They are Boston Terrier puppies. I have a true love for that breed. So.
Well, Santa brought a Shih Tzu puppy to our house last Christmas of 2019. And we just really don't know what we don't know what we would have done without her now that we've had her over a year. So dogs certainly make a house a happier home.
They do.
That's for sure. So Hope, tell me a little bit about the Kituwah Savings Program and how it was created and how it works there.
Sure. So the Kituwah Savings Program is a youth savings program that we do in partnership with the New Kituwah Academy, which is the language immersion school in Cherokee. They have kids from pretty much birth to 6th grade, but we have focused on the kindergarten through the 6th graders. And part of that partnership also includes a local banking partner, First Citizens Bank, who has been great to work with. They've sort of set up a system where we can have these accounts where parents and Sequoia Fund are able to see some of the details of the accounts so that we can kind of know what's working and what isn't. And parents can go in and manage their child's account if they need to. They can deposit money outside of the program, whatever needs they may have on that front. So a really good partnership was formed there between Sequoia Fund, the school, and the bank. We actually started, thanks to Dr. PerCap here, a few years ago, whenever Shawn was working with Sequoia Fund on some projects, he suggested this kind of program to us. He knew how interested Sequoia Fund was in getting more education out in our community about money and about financial wellness. And we figured what a great place to start with kids, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. It's they're young, they're impressionable, they've got open minds, and they actually know a lot about money. I think just in general, we're very money and financial aware. We just don't always know how to be aware of it in a good way. So it's been pretty easy to talk to the kids about it. They actually love bringing their money in and saving and talking about what they're going to buy. And so that's awesome. How the program really works is Sequoia Fund sets up days that are deposit days. And on those days, we actually go up to the school with the bank and we take deposits there at the school. So we make it very easy for parents and students to get money in their savings accounts. You can also open your account there at the school. We always have forms available. I go up the day before to give a little reminder. That's gotten to be quite the fun activity. All the kids, I make them different colors and everyone wants to pick their favorite color. And I make them ask for it in Cherokee. So I'm learning the colors in the Cherokee language. So that's kind of a fun way that they can teach me, but then I'm also teaching them. And yes, we take the deposits and then I transport it back to the bank where the tellers, I sit there and watch the tellers actually make the transaction and put it into the kids' accounts. So very safe, very secure. We encourage $5 deposits. So just a low amount. The kids don't have a lot of money on them. And, we'll take anything though. You can deposit a penny if you want. We've had some kids who, that's all they bring and that's fine. But yeah, I think it's a great program. It's fun for the kids and they're learning while they're saving. And plus then they have money that they can use in the future.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And, there's a lot of research out there that suggests that the younger a child gets a bank account, the better they perform in school, especially math. Real correlation between children that have bank accounts, how well they perform in math. They're also more likely to go on to college, do better in college. And then as adults, there's research that supports that they actually have better financial habits as adults than their peers who don't have bank accounts or didn't have bank accounts as children. So I think that's, a lot of the logic behind it is promoting sound financial habits, and the earlier the better. So they make any amount, they can make deposits of any size, really any amount is a good deposit. Is there kind of a goal or a threshold that that families target for the length of the program for savings?
Sure. So Sequoia Fund is committed to this project. So one of the things that we do is every new bank account automatically gets $25. And that's kind of Sequoia Fund's way of saying thank you as a parent for contributing to your child's financial future. We want to help you out. So we seed those bank accounts with $25. And then it is our goal for the rest of the year for the kids to make at least 10 $5 deposits. So they would save $50. And if they do that, we will give them another $25. So every kid in their first year could potentially have $100 at the end of the year. For those kids who've already gotten their seed deposit, what we do is if they continue to make 10 $5 deposits, we'll give them the $25 as well. So every year you can potentially make an extra $25, which adds up once, we've been doing this 6-7 years now. So I think overall Sequoia Fund has invested close to $4,000 in this program, just giving the kids seed money and doing their matches.
Wow. So, okay, that first $50, that's free money. And then every year beyond that, if they save that additional $50 on their own, they get $25 more free money. So it starts until they move out of Kituwah after, is it 5th grade when they
6th grade now. Yep.
They're no longer 6th grade. Okay. So it goes through kindergarten K through 6. So potentially they could be in the program for 7 years. So they could save over $200 then through that 7-year period. That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. So, um, kids come in, they make those deposits, and then are there like activities and other types of events that kind of teach and reinforce some money habits and other types of?
Yeah. So what we've kind of structured this around, working with the school, we decided that the best schedule was to go in during their lunchtime. And that way we have pretty good access to a large group of kids, so that it sort of maximizes the bank's time and Sequoia Fund's time. So in the period of like 45 minutes, we see all the kids K through 6. And we set up a little table and they can come and make their deposits. So occasionally throughout the year, I've got a couple little worksheets. I worked with the speakers group who's also up at Kituwah, and they helped me translate some kind of financial terms, but also terms that are more kind of organic in nature that also represent like growth. So, planting and just terms like that may be a little bit more familiar with the kids. So I've got a couple of worksheets and coloring pages that I pass out occasionally. And then one thing we started doing, because if you make a deposit, you get a piece of candy, right? So this is like the trick. Everyone wants to make a deposit so they can get their candy. And of course, we started feeling bad for the kids who didn't have accounts, who maybe forgot their deposit. So now the new thing is I will ask you a financial question. And if you can answer it correctly, you get a piece of candy. And sometimes the day before, I'll tell them like some possible questions that I may be asking if they're a little hard, and then they can research them. So we're trying to build in some education as well. And sometimes I do, really hard questions like who makes money, or who's on the $5 bill, questions that they may not know off the top of their head, so they can research it. But sometimes it's just things like, hey, here's a bunch of change. Can you count out $1 in quarters and dimes for me? Just to kind of see if they are getting the relationship between the value of different coins. And sometimes it's, like funny questions like, I'll ask them like, which is dirtier, a toilet seat or a dollar bill? And we'll talk about like sanitary issues and, how many people's hands touch the dollar bill. So they love that kind of, potty humor in kids is pretty popular. So, we try to engage them as much as possible. The day prior to deposit day, when I go up and give the reminders, I usually sit down with them for a few minutes, and just kind of talk to them like, hey, how's your savings going? What's your strategy for savings? Do you have an allowance, or do your parents just give you this money? Have you gotten money in any other way that you could potentially save? And then we talk about what they're saving for. What are their goals? Because that's really important is, a lot of our financial wellness is kind of based in where do we want to be financially? And that's very important to our health and our family's health and safety. So setting goals in a very youthful way, we try to talk about. So it may just be, hey, I want to have money, to buy a new game for my Xbox. But having that goal, I think, really encourages kids and adults to be more aware of how they're spending money and how they're saving money.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's shocking to think about how many germs are in a dollar bill, right? They're probably a lot dirtier than a restroom seat. So about how many kids so far have participated in the program?
So we have opened, I believe, just under 70 accounts, around 68 accounts. And if you're not familiar with the school is pretty small. The classes are probably 10 to 15 kids each. So I believe in that very first year, we opened about 30 accounts. So we pretty much doubled as we sort of came on. Every year we, introduced the program to the new kindergarten class. And then occasionally we'll have kids from the older grades sign up as well. So we probably have roughly half the school has accounts at any given time.
Wow. Okay. And then about how much money have kids saved? I mean, Sequoia Fund has invested about $400, or I'm sorry, $4,000 into the program. So about how much savings have the families and the children actually contributed?
So if you look at how much money has sort of passed through the actual program with them making their $5 deposits up in the school, they saved right at $10,000. But the last time I checked accounts, so one of the benefits of this relationship that Sequoia Fund has with the bank and with the parents who have the accounts is that at any time I can call up the bank and ask for balances of what's in the kids' accounts. So the last time I checked the balances, there was about 18,000 in there. So we do have kids who are saving outside of the program, which is our goal, right? Is that kids, know where their local bank is. They feel comfortable going to their local bank, and they know that their money's safe there. So whenever they get some extra money, they go in and put it there. And one of the things we do to kind of encourage every year we do it. Well, it's every other year now. We used to do it every year, but it was getting sort of repetitive. So every other year now we make a trip to the bank. We do a field trip. And it's an all-day event. We do it in different grade segments. And the bank is great. They show the kids their money counter. They show the kids the vault where they keep the safety deposit boxes. And they love that. They love the money counter. They get to go back behind the counter and sort of watch the drive-through happen. And so that's really great. And then if they have a deposit on that day, they can actually make it at the bank. So we give them that feeling of actually walking into that institution and handing over your money and just getting a slip of paper back, but letting them know that, hey, it's, staying here, it's still yours. They're just keeping it safe. And for the older kids, we talk a little bit about interest of, hey, they're actually paying you for you to let them keep your money, which is kind of a cool concept to introduce to kids.
I think that's so important that children have that physical relationship with cash, currency, and coins, because it amazes me nowadays with technology the way it is. Most of us don't handle cash anymore. Your money is a smartphone app. It's an electronic statement you get through an email. It's a PayPal account or an Apple Pay. And I think it's great, right? All this financial technology that enables people to access their accounts anywhere. You can deposit a check through a phone. But I also think there's a cost to that. And the cost is that as a society, we become disassociated with our money. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many people can be prone to overspend, because they don't really think of money in terms of that tangible aspect of it. They don't hold that cash, because there's research like if a person pays with cash, they feel that more, they internalize that more, as opposed to if they swipe a debit card or insert it into a chip reader or make an online purchase. So I think it's great that the kids, even though a lot of folks nowadays don't really go to banks anymore, right? They use ATMs or they do everything over their phone. But the fact that your kids at Kituwah actually get to go to a bank and they deposit cash, I think there's some real learning benefits to that that extend beyond just, thinking about savings, but actually making those in-person deposits and handling cash like that, counting money, like you described. Those are all really, really important skills for young people to have. So tell me, obviously now, we're still in the midst of this pandemic. So how has that impacted the program?
So unfortunately, it's kind of shuttered the program because the kids aren't in school. And so much of our relationship to the kids in the program is being able to be there to talk to them and see them and make it easy. So we just kind of put the program on hiatus for right now. There are potential options to go virtual if this continues much longer. We could certainly partner with the school. But right now, I think kids just have so much on their plate, everything. They're looking at a computer screen so much. And I'm hesitant to, add one more thing on. But we definitely want to pick up once school is back in and everyone feels kind of safe and secure to go back in the schools. And the kids' accounts are open, so they have the ability to access their money or add more to it. It's their money always. So it's there for them being taken care of.
That's great. So do you have any examples of kids that have, saved for specific purchases or reached savings goals and, bicycles or laptops or anything like that has really stood out as memorable learning experiences for kids?
Oh yeah, they definitely, told me things that they bought. One kid bought a mini refrigerator for his bedroom. That's what he wanted. He wanted a place to be able to put like drinks and stuff in his bedroom. And his mom was like, yeah, that's what he insisted that he wanted. So, I was like, well, it's money, I guess, as long as you're fine with it. So I think that was probably the most unusual thing I've heard. A couple of years ago, a bunch of the kids, they were taking a class trip to Dollywood, and they had all kind of agreed that they would try to save some money for that trip. They wanted to be able to spend money at Dollywood, so they were kind of saving for that. So yeah, there's been, they talk about it. I make a point to ask them. Some of them have bought pets. I think someone told me they bought like a lizard or something with their money.
That's really cool. Now the program, it currently with Sequoia Fund, through Sequoia Fund, it's only Kituwah Academy. So some of the other schools on the boundary aren't participating. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And we've talked about expanding the program into some other schools. We would potentially have to find a new banking partner because it's such a small bank, and they do come up and spend a lot of time with us. I don't know that they would have enough time to expand into other schools. So maybe looking at finding new banking partners and new opportunities there would potentially allow us to get into other schools. We have a lot of people who come and ask, hey, how does my kid get involved in this? And right now, we were very purposeful, as you remember, of picking New Kituwah. We wanted to be able to start small and not get overwhelmed with the program, and also know that we can have real impact with a small kind of targeted group of kids. And I think we were successful in that. Whenever you get into the other schools, there's so many students, and it becomes a lot more labor intensive on our part. So maybe in the future, we definitely keep it in our thoughts. One thing that we did start right before COVID is we started letting teachers open accounts. Because one of the things, the teachers, they always wanted to make deposits with their kids. One, they thought it would be a nice example to show, but then also they wanted the opportunity to save. So we did start opening accounts for teachers at New Kituwah. So that was kind of our expansion. But it was right before COVID hit that we actually got that off the ground.
That's really cool. Yeah. So how many teachers are participating then with accounts?
I don't know off the top of my head. We may have just gotten a couple signed up so far. So like I said, it happened right when COVID hit, that we had just gotten that funding to do that. We actually got some money through a program that actually specializes. It's ONAC, the Oklahoma Native Asset Coalition. So they provided some grant funding for us to do adult emergency savings accounts. So that's what we were calling it. I think altogether we opened maybe 8. But not all of them were the teachers at the school. Some of them were just the Sequoia Fund clients who were coming in. But yeah, kind of having that relationship between how to manage adult savings and children's savings. The goals for the kids are fun, lighthearted things. But for the adults, we really wanted to stress, hey, something could happen that could completely turn your life upside down if you don't have the money to cover that expense. So what's an appropriate amount to set aside and save for those kind of unavoidable but unknown occurrences that could happen in your life. So that was kind of the darker, sort of what we were trying to do for the teachers and for the adults.
I understand. Sure. So, and I'm familiar with Oklahoma Native Assets Coalition because they do a lot of this type of asset building work throughout Indian country. And I know that there aren't a whole lot of tribes. There are some other tribes that are doing programs similar to this, but not a lot. So it's it's really a unique program in that regard. And I think there's other tribes that are interested in these kinds of programs and looking for these types of solutions to youth focused financial education. So I'd imagine, there's a lot of interest, just within Cherokee and then outside of Cherokee as well, with regards to what you folks are doing there at Kituwah. That's great.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say,
Oh no,
it
go
takes
ahead.
a lot of time to build youth programs, and you don't see automatic results. You're really waiting, sometimes 10, 15 years for these, kids to kind of grow up. And then, for Sequoia Fund, it's going to be interesting to see, do we have more kids who are interested in opening their own businesses? And are more kids able to purchase their own homes? So those kind of long-term goals are so far down the road. And so I think sometimes it's hard to allocate your resources towards something that's so far in the future. But for a very long time now, Sequoia Fund has been very invested in trying to build skills of the youth here in this community. We really see the importance of giving them opportunity to be artistic, giving them opportunity to pursue their kind of dreams that they may have. And with that, the know-how to manage their money is extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, because this is just one of many different youth programs and initiatives that Sequoia Fund takes on every year. So what are some of the other youth-focused financial education projects you folks are involved in?
So we tried to kind of have something in place for a variety of age groups. So for really young elementary school age children, we have the savings program. This hasn't happened because of COVID in the past year, but in the summer, we do a youth entrepreneurship camp for 10 to 14-year-olds, where we spend a week with kids and run them through the process of starting a business. In the past few years, they've actually had an actual business in Cherokee that's their mentor, and they've bought items from that business and resold them at like a market. So folks like Pizza Inn and the Heavenly Fudge Shop and Tubby's Popcorn, Harold and Nancy Long with their farm products have all been amazing mentors for these kids. So the kids will buy like 6 pizzas and then sell pizza by the slice, but they've renamed their business. So kind of a fun thing, and they make actual money, and they have to advertise it themselves. And so really giving them the actual experience of having a business and also managing your money, because they have to decide, how many pizzas do I think I can sell? And that's how many we order. And will I make enough money to pay for those pizzas? We even have them fill out like a little sample loan. They have to borrow the money from Sequoia Fund before we'll pay for the pizzas, but then they have to pay us back, kind of thing. So trying to make it as real as possible in a week time frame. I think looking forward, we may do something more around the year. So maybe like an entrepreneurship club for those age ranges, because we have a lot of kids who want to do their own thing. They've got something that they're passionate about or that they're doing on the side. So really helping them cultivate that, something that they're interested in long term, might be where we go in the future, rather than just limiting it to a week. With the high school students and that age group, we do a variety of different things kind of based on need. So one of the kind of fun projects that we came up with is a fundraiser program. And we've worked a lot with the Cherokee Youth Council. We've worked with one of the middle school classes who were going to space camp. And then also some kids who were planning a trip to Costa Rica. And through this program, we help them like design a coffee label and a coffee, like a coffee product, and they buy it from local coffee folks, local coffee roasters, and they sell it, and they make money, and they actually make lots of money because there's pretty good margins on coffee. And so it's really fun, like helping them understand the importance of branding. So the kids who went to space camp, they named their coffee Star Beans, and we went and had it translated into Cherokee, and they put the story of like the Milky Way on it, which is like the Cherokee myth of how the of how the Milky Way was created. So really just kind of combining financial understanding, business skills, and also, culture. That's an important component to who we are and what we're all doing here. So keeping, that always in mind, how to, use who we are to our advantage, but also how to take care of who we are, and know about who we are as Cherokees. So it can get kind of fun. The Costa Rica kids named their coffee Tuya Cafe, Tuya being bean in Cherokee, and then cafe being coffee. So it was coffee bean in 2 different languages. So yeah, kind of little fun experiences with that. And they have to, buy like 15-pound bags of beans, and they have to come in and look the bags and weigh them. And so it's really a lot of work. But yeah, the kids have made thousands of dollars on this program. So, and it kind of branches out into other things. The
teachable moments.
Yeah. The Star Beans kids, they ended up designing T-shirts because their logo was great. It was beautiful. And then the Cherokee Youth Council kids actually designed tumblers to sell with their coffee. So you could buy a bag of coffee and a coffee tumbler to go with it.
Well, one of the things that really fascinated me, I first came to Cherokee in 2008. So it's been over 12 years now, almost 13 years. The very first time I ever came out this way. And what really interested me and what I was really impressed by is the longstanding tradition in the community of entrepreneurship. I mean, you have multi-generational family businesses in and around Cherokee, a wide range of products and services, stores, contractors, builders, construction, repair people, just a wide range of businesses. And it's so impressive to see. And that's something that you don't see in a lot of Native communities, a history like that of entrepreneurship that's so strong. And some of these youth businesses, I mean, some of them have actually gone on to become permanent businesses, right? I mean, you've actually helped kids actually go into business full time, haven't you?
Yeah. And I mean, we've given loans to, 20-year-olds. Technically you just have to be 18, but yeah, really trying to encourage them to make sort of something they're passionate about and they like to do, something that they can make money on. There's nothing wrong with making money. And I think sometimes people get a little uncomfortable with that thought. But yeah, we definitely want to encourage kids. If you're going to raise chickens, sell your eggs. Like, it's fine to give them to your neighbor as well, but some people want to buy them. So don't be afraid to sell them. Don't be afraid to take your hard work and get something for it. So, and, kind of juggling that with cultural values can be a little difficult at times. But yeah, this is such an entrepreneurial community. And I think it has to do with the fact that businesses didn't want to come here, but people did. So we have this beautiful area that people wanted to come visit. And so, our ancestors just saw opportunity and they were able to kind of catch on to it and survive that way, which is really cool.
Yeah. And, that insight and that instinct really paid for itself, because when you go into Cherokee now and you see how successful just the Eastern Band has been economically, a large part of the credit goes to those early people, those early families, those individuals who took that risk, who had that vision. So nothing but props for your Eastern Band people, Hope.
Yeah, nothing we did a really cool project. I think you may have actually started this off a little bit too, Shawn. It's been like 7 or 8 years ago. We did this cool project where we had kids from the high school in the entrepreneurship class actually interviewed some of our oldest entrepreneurs. And then they all signed up to take the editing class. And so we had these kids who they came up with interview questions. They picked who they wanted to interview. They actually filmed, and then they edited the video. And it's a great video. where they talked to, people like Jimmy Cooper, who brought the first Holiday Inn to Cherokee, which was a huge, huge endeavor. And, he talks about all the people he's employed over the years and just how important that business has been for this community. And we talked to folks like Daniel Tramper, who owns his own production company now, where he does stage setup and lighting for concerts. But his dad was, in the 50s was a chief, in that he wore a big feather headdress and had his picture taken with tourists. But Daniel told us he would also wear a suit when he did it, because he wanted to, it was very important to him to look professional. So it was just how these families have sort of been able to survive and make a living and be successful, and how that, I think being an artist and being an entrepreneur is like passed down through the generations in this community. It's just in people's blood. They're just so good at it. And looking at all those opportunities, and the kids did a phenomenal job, sort of putting that together, and it was great.
Now, is that video, is that like on YouTube, or can
it is on YouTube? Yeah.
It?
I think you can link to it through Sequoia Fund's YouTube. Yeah. And occasionally I'll pull out different parts and sort of pop it up on our social media, certain aspects from different interviews, just to kind of throw it up there.
Very, very cool. Well, again, Hope, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me, to share some of these programs, to talk about these success stories, Kituwah Savings Programs, entrepreneurship camps, videos celebrating the history of entrepreneurship in Cherokee. You guys just do such great work, and I know you're a model for Indian Country. A lot of other community development financial institutions, they pay attention to Sequoia Fund. They see the initiative you folks are taking. And I know especially during COVID, you folks have not missed a beat. I mean, obviously you've had to slow down with some of your programs. Like you mentioned, Kituwah program is on hold because of just the logistics with remote schooling and everything. But I know you folks are just working really hard with, some of these business loans, these economic impact loans that a lot of local businesses and people as well, individuals and families need. So just want to give you folks a lot of credit where credit's due, and please just keep up the great work and serving the Eastern Band community like you folks do. It's just wonderful, all the great work that you do.
Thank you, Shawn. We appreciate that. We're glad that we can help.
You bet. Absolutely. Well, you take care of that 15-year-old daughter of yours. I bet you got your handful, especially with remote schooling and those two Boston Terrier pups. And hopefully, before too long, we'll be able to meet again face to face and get that Kituwah program back up and going, and have those kids back at the bank and entrepreneurship camp and everything else. But until then, I want to wish you all the best, and have a great 2021.
Thanks. You too. Thanks, Shawn.
You bet. Okay, I have Samantha Hernandez in the studio with me, and Samantha is a teacher at New Kituwah Academy, and she's also a parent. Samantha, welcome. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. So give me a little bit of background on yourself, Samantha. I know you're a teacher, and I know you work with kindergartners through second graders, but you also have some other roles there at the school as well, right?
Mm-hmm. I was born and raised here in Cherokee. I attended Western Carolina University for my undergrad and my grad degrees. My undergrad is in elementary education, and my graduate degree is in special education. I've been teaching at Kituwah. This February 14th will mark 10 years that I've been with Kituwah. And I have 3 children, one of which just graduated from Kituwah in the summer. And my younger 2, my middle child is in the 5th grade, and my youngest is in the 3rd grade. But yeah, I teach kindergarten through 2nd grade, English language arts, and then kindergarten through 6th grade special education.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations on 10 years at Kituwah. And I see some kids in the background there. I'm thinking those are your kids.
Yeah, sorry.
In the kitchen there,
Yeah, she was busting up a box of Capri Suns. Sorry about that. But yeah, I have a couple anniversaries in February. My husband and I will be married 13 years, February 9th. So February is a big month.
Yeah. And then you got Valentine's Day as well. So very, very cool. Well, no worries. I'm very familiar with Capri Suns and everything else. I have a 7-year-old at home, so we're pretty, I can relate for sure.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit, Samantha, because not only in addition to being a teacher, you have children at New Kituwah, like you mentioned, and there's a really exciting program there that Sequoia Fund helps facilitate at New Kituwah Academy called the Kituwah Savings Program. And talking with Hope Huskey and learning a little bit about Sequoia Fund's involvement in that program. But I also wanted to hear from you, being that you're a parent and you're a teacher, you've got some unique perspectives. So tell me a little bit about how the New Kituwah program works there at the school. And as a parent also, how does it work with you and your family in terms of helping your children meet savings goals?
Okay, I'll go ahead and start with the teacher point of view. I've got to go on a couple of the field trips with them. They take a trip down to the bank, and they kind of get to see the ins and outs of how everything works, and like whenever they turn their money in, like kind of just the process of what happens when they deposit money. And the kids always love it. The staff at First Citizens is always so kind to our students and answer any questions they have. It's just something that our students really enjoy. And then they look forward to seeing Hope and whichever lady joins her from the bank weekly at the school, or it's biweekly, I'm sorry. But they bring little reminders one day and to say, hey, reminder about your deposit. And then when they come and do a deposit, they always bring them a little treat or something. So the kids really look forward to that. Now, my kids are sticklers with their deposits. They make sure I have their money ready for them to deposit. And it's money that we've left alone. And I've told them, like, you save up for big things. You don't deposit $5 and then withdraw extra money. So when we're able to, my husband and I like to deposit 10. If we have extra money, it'll be a $10 or $20. And we remind our kids, if you have extra money, that doesn't always mean you have to spend it. You can put it in the bank, and that will grow rather than just spending it as you get it.
Now, for your children, the money that they deposit, is that allowance money that they earn, or is it birthday money? How do they actually, where does that money come from? Or is it just you and your husband just give them a few dollars on deposit day?
Well, they do earn money at home, but that's kind of like okay, you want a toy at Target, so here's what you have to do to get that. But this money that we do at the Sequoia Fund, that just comes from me and my husband.
Awesome. And tell me a little bit about your kids. And so you said they get excited. They enjoy deposit days.
Yeah.
Do you have any little rituals there on deposit day at home, or how do they pick up their money and go in the lunchbox?
Before we leave the house, they make sure I have their money ready. And they usually have like a little Ziploc bag or something with their names on it to make sure that they have their money. Now, my youngest, I have to remind him that all the money that I send goes, it's not a few dollars here, a few dollars there. Just what I've put in that Ziploc bag's what's to be deposited. He was peeking behind me just a second ago.
That's really cool. So what kind of savings goals have the kids set for themselves?
Like for the boys, gaming systems, and my little girl likes arts and crafts kits and all the little trinkets and everything that go with those. So those are kind of things that they work toward.
Very cool. So are there other activities or discussions or anything like that you folks have at home to reinforce money topics and learning about money there at the house?
Well, they've been curious, like, how much money do you make? How do you get money? And then it was kind of hard for my youngest especially, to understand that because we weren't physically going to work. How were we still working, and like I've had to teach from home since March. But he just didn't understand that physical part of it. He's like, well, you're not going to work. I said, but I'm working. He said, but you're at home. So we kind of just have to remind them that if you want to be successful, you have to do good in school, make smart choices. And we really promote like secondary education. And like my youngest wants to be YouTube famous. He wants to start streaming videos and stuff. And we're trying to set him up with somebody who can kind of mentor him if that is an area he wants to take. And if he wanted to pursue something in technology, he's 9, but that's never too young to foster that interest and help him to be successful.
No, it really isn't. And as somebody my age, middle-aged person, I hear about, a kid wants to be a YouTube star. We did another one of these broadcasts about video games, and you hear these stories about kids wanting to be professional video game players. But obviously it's hard to do. It's not everybody that sets out to do that is really successful, but it happens. There are people that make a lot of money playing video games. There are young kids who make a lot of money doing YouTube. So you never want to, that's, any kid who has a dream, we always want to promote that. So talking about the pandemic and some of the, obviously you're teaching from home, your kids are learning remotely as well. Has that impacted, being able to go to the bank or being able to make deposits and things like that?
Yeah, like that. Unfortunately, I don't know how they could see it, but like it's kind of been an out of sight, out of mind thing for me. So that's been difficult. I have intentions of, I need to go make a deposit in their Sequoia fund, but then it just slips because teaching from home, like I go out on Saturdays and Sundays usually, and that's just grocery shopping. So, and then personally, I do online banking. So I'm rarely out to go to the bank during the week. So that has kind of prohibited that from happening.
Yeah, I understand. And I know Hope has shared that, the program is currently on hold as well as other youth programs by Sequoia Fund just because of the pandemic and everything. And so like I'm the same way because I do most of my banking mobily or, I can deposit checks or anything like that. But does the youth savings program, like those, because those are special types of accounts, right? Those are uniform, what do they call it? A uniform transfer to minors account, a UTMA account at Citizens Bank. Do they allow any kinds of like mobile deposits or anything like that? Or is everything for those children's accounts have to actually be done?
I think it's a physical thing. I think it is physical because like I don't have a card or anything for those accounts, just deposit slip books.
Yeah, I can imagine how that would make things challenging and moving forward and everything. So what other types of activities or hobbies are your kids into other than saving money for games and things like that?
My oldest is really into basketball, and he's at Cherokee Middle School right now, and he's on the middle school basketball team. So that's been kind of keeping him busy. The younger two, like all the youth sports and stuff, have been canceled, but they're typically cheerleading, playing football, basketball, soccer. They're very active kids. Just with this year, though, it's been put on a complete halt. But they do enjoy playing outside, and we live in a family neighborhood, and so they're always outside with their cousins. But other than that, everything's pretty much put on hold.
Yeah. And it seems like we're probably going to be in this mode probably through the end of the year. I'm thinking at this point, with it already being February, and we're definitely over the hump in terms of the school year.
Yeah, I just got the email that Jackson County canceled their soccer for the spring. So.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah.
What about there at the school in the classrooms? Because I know each class goes and makes their deposits. Like the bank comes in, they make their deposits separately. But do you folks do other lessons and activities as part of the curriculum to promote managing money or understanding money matters at all?
Now it's worked into just the standard math curriculum. Tell them to be quiet, please. It's worked into the standard math curriculum, but I know a lot of the teachers do kind of do like money lessons and then talking about savings. And then I know there's lessons like leading up to their visits to the bank.
And are some of all these lessons and everything is translated into Cherokee as well, right?
Yes.
Yes.
For the majority of the language or the curriculum delivered, K2 is in Cherokee. But as they get higher up in grades, like the vocabulary and stuff, it's like there weren't words for certain vocabulary words in grades 3 through 6 in the Cherokee language. And for a while, we were kind of just making words up as we went. But that just kind of, it was just like a play on words. And it was really hard to even teach the vocabulary, let alone like what those words meant. So more English is put in grades 3 through 6 just for language purposes.
Sure. Well, I think the only word that I know Adela. I know that word.
That's a good one to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like bank and deposit and using credit
Mm-hmm.
and things like that, that's a little bit more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago, I had the opportunity to interview Myrtle Driver, and I asked her a bunch of different like words like related to personal finance, and even like phrases like, get a good deal or shop for a bargain and things like that. And she was able to translate a bunch of that stuff into Cherokee. So if you folks are ever interested or anything, I'd be happy to send that video over. And
that'd be awesome. Yeah, we love Myrtle. She is one of our speakers that works with our program.
Right. Yeah, I know she's been very heavily involved with Kituwah since the school first opened, right? She's always been closely tied in. Okay. All righty. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, Samantha. I know you've got a busy household there and lots of stuff to do, but I do want to thank you once again for coming on and sharing and providing some insights in terms of how the Kituwah program works, not only at the school, but also in your household. So is there anything else you want to share or talk about, with the program or anything else going forward?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, thanks again, and tell those children of yours to keep reaching for those savings goals, and wish you folks all the best moving forward into the spring and through the rest of the school year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You bet.